years since any significant expenditure is made at the court. We have now gone from a couple of men's teams and one women's team to 6 teams, 4 men and 2 women's teams, plus about 25 to 50 people. Just to keep it in mind, because we're thinking long-term, it is a great sport. It is a great way to introduce kids to racket sports. There are a lot of people and a lot of interest from the national governing body in growing municipal paddle, and there are some monies available. If we want to go down a third court route, I just want to put that idea in your head. But thank you very much for doing this. This is money well spent. A lot of people get a lot of use out of it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else want to address the Township Committee? Okay. Well, thank you very much for all that. We are going to close that public comment. There will be another one later. And we're going to move to item number 8, which is introduction of a new ordinance.
Mayor, item 8, it's ordinance number 2866-17, an ordinance to amend Chapter 257 of the Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Vehicles and Traffic. This ordinance will implement time limit parking on Tuscan Road between Valley Street and Prospect Street.
Can we get a motion?
Mayor, I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on July 5th.
Second. Any discussion at this point? Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams, Mrs. Larrier.
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick,
Yes.
Mr. McGehee,
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca.
Yes. Okay, we have 4 discussion items, and the first one appropriately is the paddle tennis in the open space. Mr. McGehee?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, as we've already heard from several residents, this is a sport that is enjoyed by many residents in our town and abutting towns as well. It's an up-and-coming sport in a lot of ways. I play tennis, but I'm interested in playing a little paddle tennis myself in the future. You know, this is something that was approved before, originally by the Recreation Department as well as Open Trust Fund. I think we need to move forward and go ahead and approve this money tonight so that we can get these paddleboard courts up to snuff so we can have a competitive event.
Do you know how much we're talking about?
I think it was for 35.
35.6.
35.6?
There's a resolution authorizing it on the agenda.
Yep. Yeah.
I thought it was 35.
What?
$35,600.
It's in the resolution.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Yes.
And I'm brought back to it because I was sitting right here in this room probably last July, maybe it was September, but nearly a year ago. I thought we already approved this. Am I mistaken?
I think we didn't do an ordinance.
Not that long ago. It was for the 2017 OSTF funds. But somehow, yeah.
Okay.
We got, what wasn't approved and what we got asked for was a third paddle tennis court and construction of that, and where the bocce is and everything.
Right. We said no to that, but I thought we said yes to the.
We did. We
Okay.
said yes for 35. So.
Okay.
But it did not get into the budget that we approved.
Right.
Okay. So now we're putting it.
Yes.
What we're doing is we're moving funds from the unallocated amount to the paddle tennis court. So we're creating a line item for the paddle tennis court.
Right. The
So that-
unallocated OSTF funds.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. We should do that.
Okay, we will do that.
Okay, good.
And if you want, we can pull this off and do it right now. We can,
Why don't we just go ahead and do that right now?
this would be resolution 11217. Mr. McGehee, if you'd like to move that.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we move funding to support the from the Open Trust Fund to support the paddle tennis courts.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Just want to make sure everyone understands that the Open Space Trust Committee did also approve this and recommend it to the Township Committee.
And the Recreation Advisory Committee did so as well.
Thank you.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Larrier,
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick,
Yes.
Mr. McGehee,
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca.
Yes. Okay. So you all can stay for the stump grinder too, or you want, it's up to you.
Go play.
Maybe you're going to the same place the firefighters are going. Well, we can, if you get home and turn on Fios, maybe it'll be on. Thank you for coming out. Next is the support for building a thriving New Jersey resolution. I sent out something that we received from the Housing and Community Development Network of New Jersey. It's a draft resolution essentially supporting more housing, affordable housing in the state, investing $600 million into homes. And this would deal with foreclosures and households that are in need of affordable housing. And they come up to that 600 million, maybe I said 1,000, but 600 million by making sure that the money that we currently have allocated for housing is not diverted by previous governors. For example, the realty transfer fee was supposed to be for housing, and that's $125 million, and that's been diverted. Neighborhood revitalization tax credit, there's been some money that's been diverted to general revenue. So this is really trying to keep the money that is dedicated for housing on housing, allocate a few more dollars, maybe do some bonding, and trying to get housing up and running as a major issue in the gubernatorial race and for the next administration in 2018. So this was recommended to us by the Affordable Housing Board, which met last week. And I should also say that our Assembly members, J.C. and McKeon, have also signed on to this. Anyone have any questions? I will move that we support the Building a Thriving New Jersey.
I'll second it.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrecht?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, and then we can memorialize it.
I'll memorialize it.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, next up is the New Jersey Transit Summer Train Service. So here's where we are on June 20th. We met last week internally with our head of Department of Public Works and our captains to talk about what we'll be able to do in response. So we are now looking to provide early morning jitney service so that we will be able to get people to the 5:01 and 5:45 train, which will be important. And I'm sorry, 5:04 and 5:49. Those will be the direct trains to New York. We're looking to start the jitney runs starting at 4:45 a.m. We figure we're going to start it, see if there's interest in continuing it. We do, have you heard about the drivers? We are checking with, have we checked with the drivers? We'll know tomorrow when we have our meeting, but you haven't heard anything?
Not yet.
Okay. So, we're dependent on having drivers. We need 4 drivers to be able to start working at 4:45. And,
We have 5 people.
yeah.
Make that 4.
So that's our plan, is to get people as early to the train as possible. The rest of the morning schedule is going to be tweaked. The trains going to Hoboken, the express trains, if you will, those are trains that have maybe 1 or 2 stops at most between here and Hoboken. They're leaving just about the same times as the New York Express train. So our jitney will not have to be tweaked that much, a little bit here and there. In the evening, we'll have to do a little more revision because the trains are going to be coming right after one another. And it does take roughly a half hour to complete the route, to get people from the train station to the furthest point and then get back. It's about somewhere in the vicinity of 26 minutes. So it takes a little time to do that. So we'll work this out as we go forward. We're also looking to hire a 5th driver and utilize our new jitney that is mothballed right now, anticipating a new route for 2018. And that will take people from the Maplewood train station to the South Orange train station if they're interested in taking the bus. We think we can do roughly 3 round trips in an hour. That jitney will be where the Valley National Bank is in the village. And anybody coming will be able to get off the other jitneys, go underneath the underpass, and get onto the jitney and go to South Orange if they prefer to do that. And that will be, we don't know the hours yet of the bus, roughly 7 to 9. So that will be what, in that 2 hour period, you know, we'll get, you know, the jitney can seat 40, and so we might end up moving a couple of hundred people. So additionally, the police are going to issue an order that the existing commuter parking permit streets, which now have a limitation of not parking earlier than 6 a.m., that will be lifted to about 4:45. So no one will get a ticket if they start parking there. And spoke to Sarah Lester at the library. The library is going to be making workspace, meeting space available on a reservation basis. They have that now, but they'll be doing more of that at both buildings. If need be, we will open earlier than 10 o'clock to allow people to go in if they have business meetings or even video conferencing if they want to do that there. So we'll be able to do that. And lastly, as two things. Today we publicized our letter, our you know, take the letter to the teacher letter. This essentially tells employers in New York City what's going on. And it was interesting because some of the reaction was everything from their bosses laughing at them for this letter to people saying that their employers had no idea this was occurring. So if anything, they can use this letter. I mean, honestly, New Jersey Transit gives letters out when there have been these mass delays. So this is a proactive approach. We've sent the letter to South Orange. They will be doing a similar letter and getting it out for their residents. So I want to thank everybody for their input on the letter. And lastly, on the bus service, we were unable to get transit to provide buses to New York from Maplewood. It has to do with we don't have a bus now from our train station, whereas South Orange does. So that's the reason it's in South Orange. But I was contacted by Skedaddle. That's the bus that is a private bus system. They would be willing to come into Maplewood on a private venture. It's all done on a demand basis. For those of you who may have taken one of their buses to the March on Washington, that's how you did it. You signed up, and the earlier you sign up, the fare is cheaper. The later you sign up, it becomes more expensive. So they're interested in trying to see if we can create a bus service for anyone. It would be at a premium. You would not be able to use your tickets, your New Jersey Transit tickets. And the only thing they would need from us is just letting people know it exists and letting them have a boarding and departure spot. They will actually take people into New York and drop them off at Penn Station on the bus. And they will do all this without having to go through any regulatory process on the New York side, because they will be idling for less than 15 minutes on the New York side. So they can pull to the curb and let people off.
Mayor, do you have any idea how much those?
They were not able to tell me. Yeah, I don't think it'll be cheap.
Yeah, doesn't sound like it.
I don't think it'll be cheap, but it will be a guaranteed ride there and back. So,
Mr. Mayor, I know that some residents had reached out to me and said they were interested in this. So I'm glad that we've had that conversation. And so if we can get the information disseminated to those particular residents and that.
so I think, do you think we should, so you're thinking we should pursue this? I I'm not sure it would hurt, because if they don't get enough people, it just won't be done. It's sort of a market-driven, it's not what we wanted, because we really wanted to get transit to provide the buses, but there may be people willing to pay for the, peace of mind of getting to New York and back. So if you think we should pursue it, I will let them know that, and I'll talk to the police about.
Is there any obligation or risk on our part?
There's not. The
Then,
only thing we would do is just promote it along with everything else.
yeah, as an option.
Yeah,
And discuss the place
yeah, provide them with a safe place to drop off.
Drop off, yeah.
away from, maybe even town hall, like somewhere not congested.
Yeah, I think we would we'll get some guidance from the captain on that. And just one other, some of the private entities in town or in South Orange, like Work and Play, they've also said that they were willing to work with residents too. So I don't, we're not in a position to advertise for private entities, but I do think this is an extraordinary situation. And if people don't know about Work and Play, and there may be others that are out there.
Is there a way we could just sort of make a place for a clearinghouse of all of these different entities where
We
they
could do
could go
that.
onto the website and these are the ones, these are where they come, this is what they cost?
Yep.
At least
Could do that.
at least it's one specific place where
Yep.
they can go.
Yep, we could do that on our
Mr.
website.
Mayor, one other question. A lot of residents, or at least a number of residents who've talked to me, seem confused about, when they buy their weekly and monthly passes, are they, there's been talk of a discount, there's been talk of buying Hoboken as opposed to buying New York, but the Hoboken pass for July and August will still work to get to New York?
Yes. So
Okay.
this is how it will work. Yesterday was the first day you could start doing mail-ins. You should buy a Hoboken monthly or weekly.
Mhm.
Um,
And that will be discounted?
and that will be discounted. Give you I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but it's significantly, I think it's $91.
91, I think it's
$91 for
yes.
Hoboken monthly.
Mhm.
You will be able to use that Hoboken pass from July 1st to July 10th to go directly into New York and come home from New York.
Right.
Okay.
And on July 10th, you'll be able to use that to go to Hoboken. You'll also be able to use that to go on those 3 New York trains in the morning.
That's right, correct.
And on weekends, if you have a monthly and a weekly pass, you will be able to go into New York on the New York trains. If you go there with a daily pass on the weekends, you have to buy a New York Penn ticket. During the weekdays, if you buy a daily ticket, you buy a Hoboken ticket, not a New York ticket.
Okay.
And what we're urging people to do on weekdays, if you're a daily traveler, to buy a round trip, because the ferry dock and the path station, they do not have terminals to sell New Jersey Transit tickets.
Or people can download the app?
Or they can download the app and use the My Tickets on the app, yeah.
Okay. And just to be clear, the Hoboken ticket then at Hoboken or at New York will be good for the path or the ferry?
And Hoboken would be good for the path, the ferry, or the 126 bus to the Port Authority.
Okay. And on the way back, it'll be good for the bus to the Port Authority, the ferry, and the 33rd Street and Wall Street stations?
Correct.
Okay.
Got it.
Thank you.
We tried as best we could to get those other stations to be cross-honored, but they just would not agree. Path wouldn't agree and Transit wouldn't agree. They couldn't find a way to do it, so. But at 33rd Street, they just have to show a monthly pass, a weekly pass, or a daily ticket.
Yeah, we've had this unfortunate situation before, and there's usually a person there who can, see your pass, where at 23rd, there's no person there. So.
Yeah. The one thing I would just let people know, and we can all just share this if you get this question. There is an option to go from Newark Broad, to go from Maplewood to Newark Broad, to get off at Newark Broad. It's about a 14-minute ride, to get onto the light rail and to go to Newark Penn Station. It's about another 10 minutes. The thing is, though, when you get to, you'll be able to cross Honor for the Newark Light Rail. But when you get to Newark Penn Station, you have to buy a ticket to go to New York. You cannot use your Hoboken ticket.
No, that's
No,
Right.
it's
the New
regular.
Jersey Transit trains.
Right.
Right.
I mean, there is a path there, but there'd be no reason.
They won't do it. And the reason being is that they're afraid that everybody will buy Hoboken tickets instead of New York tickets. And it's a difference. It's a significant
Big cost
difference.
savings, yeah.
And it would just cost more. So that is another option to get to New York Penn, is to do the switch from Newark Broad to Newark Penn. But the ticket from Newark Penn to New York Penn on a daily basis is $5.25. And on a monthly basis, it's pretty significant too. So
So what is the normal monthly Hoboken?
right now,
Yeah.
I can tell you that the New York Penn is 227, I think. Yeah, from Maplewood. Yeah, that's correct. Pretty sure it's 227.
well, from Maplewood it's 183
To
to
Hoboken.
Hoboken.
Hoboken,
And then
but
to New York Penn.
New York is 227.
That's right.
So it's going from 183 to $91.
So 50% off.
Correct.
Yeah.
And if you were buying the 227 before, you're still paying $91.
That's exactly what I think, 'cause I buy monthly to
Right.
New York Penn, so.
And you know, there is an issue. I don't know if you all do this, because I did it when I was commuting. You buy ahead of time, and some people have bought their July tickets for New York already. I don't know how they're getting refunded or all that, so just comes from, you know. But okay, so we will move forward. We'll contact Skedaddle, and we'll set something up on the webpage for alternatives. We have been putting out blasts. I sent you the letter so that we could blast that out. But we're on it. And, the other thing is, I don't know if you saw them today, but they were supposed to start having ambassadors at the train station.
I didn't see any today.
Okay, so if you see in New Jersey, give them a big welcome for us.
My pleasure.
Okay, item number 4. This is a request that we received from residents Raymond Terrace, May Terrace. These are streets that we share with Union Township. We have probably a dozen homes on all these different streets that we share. These are off of Milburn Avenue, Raymond Terrace, May Terrace. There is on Springfield Avenue in Union, there's Hawks Tavern. I don't know if anyone's seen it driving by, but it's been closed for a while, and now they're going to be building a large restaurant there. And what we're getting, it was done through a Board of Adjustment hearing. They had to do, because it's a use variance, and in any event, some of our residents are very concerned. It's an undersized lot. They needed 41 parking spaces, and they're not getting that.
How many are they getting? It's like 16.
Yeah, it's less than 20.
Yeah.
The town is providing them with some parking on a public parking lot on Springfield Ave. But they're concerned, our residents are concerned that this approval will have a negative impact on their quality of life from either parking on the street or people driving through after the event. The exit and entrance for the restaurant is on Crestview, so it's not even on Springfield Avenue. So it sort of just takes people out, even though there's not going to be a no left turn there. We know that people will exit and go through the residential streets because Springfield Avenue will be too crowded, or people want to go to, a different way. So they've just asked us if we would be supportive of writing to the Union Board of Adjustment, expressing our concern about the potential negative impacts on residents on these streets.
So has the variance, I thought the variance was already granted.
It has been, and tomorrow night they're going to read the resolution. So there's,
And this is, if I remember, it's like a 50-seat restaurant and then a 45 or 50-seat bar area.
Right,
This is the Spanish restaurant?
yes,
And then there's going to be residential
Three
upstairs?
apartments,
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And there's on-site parking for the apartments? Do we know?
That's part of it. I think there's tandem spots for the apartments, yes.
I think that's part of the 16
Yeah.
or 18 or whatever spots.
A bar and restaurant with 3 apartments. The residents, our residents are planning to appeal the decision. So this is,
And do we haven't, I mean, how many residents, because I'm unclear as to where the order, where the Maplewood streets come into contact, where are they concerned?
they're concerned,
About traffic or
Here.
about?
traffic and parking.
So we're talking about May and Raymond, right?
May and Raymond,
They're
for the
not-
most part.
They're not wide.
They're not wide
They're
streets,
not
there's
wide
parking.
streets to begin with.
I mean, to be honest, they're not immediately adjacent to these streets.
But May and Raymond run into Crestview, which
They
is,
do.
yeah,
Correct,
where the parking's going to be and also where,
correct. And you know, you have a big event and people
Overflow.
overflow parking. There's just not a lot of parking on Springfield Avenue in general.
Yeah.
There's other, you know, other businesses compete for that parking. So if you have a night event or a Sunday afternoon, evening event, people are going to park and they're going to end up parking further down or
yeah.
parking near to the restaurant and pushing other people down into our neighborhood.
Yeah, Villa
Um,
Terrace might be affected as well.
It might be. There's limited parking there,
Mhm.
certainly the others.
But in terms of people cutting through. and-
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. As far as the number of residents, again, it's somewhere between 9 and 12 houses that are in Maplewood. They're at the very end, the northern end of these streets. And this is really just the request that we stick up for our residents.
So in the variance approval, the positive criteria, I assume outweigh the negative criteria?
I guess so.
to that board?
Yeah, I think they wanted to develop it. I mean, Hawks was, they wanted to develop into a higher rateable. They want to bring a new nice restaurant there, all that kind of stuff.
You can't bring that, but are there some, would there be some specific asks that we would?
I think what we would ask is that it's been brought to our attention that there's some potential traffic and parking impact on the residents of Maplewood, and we would ask them to reconsider it and,
So is-
Or,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Take that into account,
Or
yeah.
if
take
not,
that into
reconsider it. I mean, if it were us, we would then try to, I guess, alleviate what we think would be the problems with the parking and the traffic. Is there any potential where where Union might be able to do that, changing some streets, changing some
That's what I was
signage,
about to
yeah,
say.
I think,
as opposed to
Even
saying,
Not just their streets, but even Maplewood. I mean, we could look at, if this goes through, we could look at, just like we do at Engineering Public Works on a regular
Right.
basis, when there are issues with regard to parking or traffic caused by a successful business nearby, and all of a sudden residential streets are getting parking issues, maybe this is something
right,
we restrict hours of parking on street to help those residents in that area, or look at the traffic patterns that we may.
I would also think that perhaps an ask like that, as opposed to rescind your decision, is a little easier for them to say yes to.
Yeah. Mayor, do we know whether the Union residents that are also,
I'm sure there are. I don't know who they are.
yeah, no, I'm just wondering.
I don't know. I don't know. I didn't look at the record. I don't know. I happened to actually turn on one night and the hearing was going on and I saw there were some people objecting to it or asking questions about it, but
I would just assume that, they're even more impacted because
they are.
the Maplewood residents are not the immediate neighbors. They're in the neighborhood, but
Correct.
yeah.
And, I think how they dealt with the parking is to get the town to give them the use of their parking space. The one thing, it's very precarious there, parking in general, because we don't allow parking overnight in our stretch of the block. They do. And the overflow cars for our residents end up parking in Union. So we have to be a little careful what we might do or not do that could have an impact on Union doing something.
I also think we need to think about the positive impact that this might have on
The
this
whole area.
sort of blighted lot that looked like that for a long time and has been vacant for a couple of years, but I mean, this could have the potential of improving, much like some of the projects we've done in Maplewood in the areas that are less desirable previously, but are now looking and acting a lot better as properties and being better for the residential in those neighborhoods.
So
I
it
think
may
we're
be,
ill-prepared.
it may be that we don't send anything to the Board of Adjustment, that instead we send something to the Township Committee and Union saying that if and when this becomes a problem, that we will collectively work together to try to resolve this.
I like that
I'm comfortable with
idea.
that.
Much better.
Okay, let's do that. And if, we'll do that, and then that will just, send a message to Union that, if this becomes a problem, let's sit down, let's figure out comprehensively how to work together, because we have a joint interest in the parking and the residents there.
We've got our eyes on them.
There you go.
Yeah.
There must be something like an emoji or something.
And who knows, maybe it won't even.
Everybody, you
become a
check it
problem.
out, thanks. Okay. So is that okay?
That's much better.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so let's go to the consent agenda, which we've taken out resolution number 10517, which we'll vote on separately. We've already approved item one, resolution 112-17. Can we get a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved?
Second?
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
With the exception of the minutes from the last meeting?
Mr.
Yes.
Lambrecht?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
I think you cut
Mayor
off.
DeLuca?
Yes,
Sorry.
I think you cut off Mrs. Larrier's vote.
Yeah, you did. Totally.
Sorry, I'm in a new
We
building.
have to
I
get you-
wasn't
we
here
have to
at the
get you a
last
little pillow so you can
So
see
So
us.
low.
I know how we-
Okay. We are at our second public comment. Is there anyone?
When are we going to do?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes,
105-17?
we are. We're going to go back to, 105-17. Ms. Adams, would you like to move it, and if you'd like to make a statement?
Sure. I think we talked about it at the last meeting, just I think all of us feel the same way about the president pulling out of the Paris Accord, and we want to commit locally to do what we can to deal with climate change issues as much as we can, and by thinking and acting locally, reusable bottles, for example, and all the other green practices we can do. So I would ask my colleagues to support this so we can send another message. Not that it's being heard.
And do you want to move it?
I will.
Second?
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lambrecht?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you. And I sent the information we got from Tracy Woods from our Green Team chair about where we are still in a group that's the Bloomberg Philanthropy Center for American Progress, Climate Mayors, National League of Cities, ICLEI, Rocky Mountain Institute. So we'll be a signature to that now. Okay, now we will go to our second public comment. Is there anyone who would like to address the Township Committee? Seeing no one, we will move on. Administrative reports, Mr. Manning.
Yes, thank you. I have 3 items. The first has to do with, we're getting ready for the July 4th celebration, which is sponsored by the Civic Association. I need a motion to approve the agreement, which we do every year, just basically changing the year. Typically, this is done earlier, but we don't have our liaison that we used to have, so we have to kind of get used to getting that again. So if you could give me a motion to approve the agreement, which was crafted by Mr. Desiderio and reviewed by our labor attorney, that would be great.
Okay, is there a motion for that?
So moved?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Limbrick?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And the second thing is that we have been meeting with the Village of South Orange to come to some sort of an agreement through a study that we've had done to combine fire services between the two towns. We've requested that the Department of Community Affairs help us to get over different hurdles that we may have to move this forward. They've agreed to do that. We have a memorandum of understanding, which you've all had a copy, which lays out how they will do this and what they expect from us and we to expect from them. So if you could do a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Limbrick?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you.
And the last item that I have, of course, is that our farmers market is now situated in a location and it is thriving. I mean, if you go there, it's really looking like there are a lot of people there, pleased with it. So it's every Monday from 2 to 7 on Springfield Avenue, the number being
1848, 1852 Springfield Avenue.
1848, 1852 Springfield Avenue. It's the lot there during the week when it's not being used for the farmers market on Mondays. It is a parking lot to help people park in the area and shop, etc.
Mr. Manning, have the vendors indicated that they're happier with this location, or have they noticed an increase or decrease in sales, or have they not been
Well,
surveyed?
it was, we haven't surveyed them like an official survey, and we were there on the first day, and it seemed to, they were very happy about it, but we'll give it a little time to kind of catch on, take off. We will.
The parking lot behind it was crowded. I mean, half full at least.
Right.
And it's a big lot, so it looked better to me than it has in the past at the other location.
Looks more like a farmer's market, really.
They verbally told me that they did like it.
They did like it.
Yeah.
The Springfield Avenue Partnership Board spoke about it last night, and everyone's very happy. We are talking about maybe trying to do some other enhancements there, everything from music to maybe getting some of the restaurants to do samples of food and things like that.
That would be, yes, and we're also working on it. July 10th, we have a,
Atlantic Health Systems, they're coming with a van to do some,
Diabetes.
diabetes and blood sugar and
Right.
blood pressure. So we're having different vendors coming in. I believe yesterday we had an exchange student program there. So we're promoting some nonprofits to come, occasionally.
we also have, we've typically had at least one cooking demonstration that we've set up. So we want to have more.
Right, so they'll be
Developing.
reaching out to the two of you.
Yes. Any questions for me?
No, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Desiderio.
I have one item there. As you indicated earlier, for many months, we have been seeking a person or entity to conduct an assessment of the July 5, 2016 events following the 4th of July celebration. And in that regard, Mr. McGee recommended Mr. Hillard from Chicago, and we were in touch with his firm. And I'll just give you a little background with regard to the firm. Hillard Heinz is one of the leading, and this is their letter, so I'm not making an endorsement, I'm just reading from it. One of the leading law enforcement consulting firms in the United States. We help law enforcement organizations and senior municipal leaders protect people, performance, interests, and reputations by delivering advisory services that provide insight, deliver assurance, and instill confidence. As evidence of our capabilities, Hillard Hines was chosen by the Department of Justice to be the sole service provider for the COPS Office Collaborative Reform Initiative for technical assistance. Through this multi-year, multi-million-dollar contract, we are assisting law enforcement agencies across the country with internal review and reform in keeping with the tenets of the final report of the President's Task Force on the 21st Century Policing. So with that in mind, I was tasked with making some inquiries with regard to references. I did that. I spoke to representatives from 3 communities where Hillard Hines has done services. All of the recommendations were stellar. They delivered the product in a timely fashion, professionally, and on budget. We received a proposal from them based on an outline that I gave them of the services that were going to be required of $29,000. The governing body expressed some concern that because they were out of state, that the expenses might be somewhat high. I asked them for a breakdown of their expenses, out-of-pocket expenses, and they came up with an amount of $5,850 in expenses for a total of $34,850. It is my understanding that the governing body is willing to entertain a resolution to appoint them to perform the services at an amount not to exceed $34,850. If that is in fact the case, I have drafted a proposed resolution which I would read if there is interest in doing that.
Yes, please read the resolution.
Okay. Resolution appointing Hillard Hines to conduct an independent assessment of the July 5, 2016 incident in the township of Maplewood. Whereas on July 5, 2016, after the fireworks in the township of Maplewood, a situation developed, and whereas as a result of the incident, the manner in which the crowd control was handled has come into question, and whereas the Township Committee has determined that it would be in the best interest of the township to hire a qualified entity to conduct an independent assessment of the incident, and whereas a search has been performed and the firm of Hillard Hines, LLC of Chicago, Illinois, has been determined to be the most qualified entity to conduct the assessment, and whereas the firm of Hillard Hines has extensive experience in conducting these types of assessments, and whereas a proposal has been solicited from Hillard Hines, LLC, a copy of which is attached, and whereas Hillard Hines has agreed to perform the assessment at a cost of $29,000 plus $5,850 in expenses for a total of $34,850, and whereas funds are available against budget line item number 7-01-20-100-100-211. Now therefore be resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Maplewood in the County of Essex and the State of New Jersey that the firm of Hillard Hines LLC be retained to perform an independent assessment of the incident. A contract be awarded to Hillard Hines in an amount not to exceed $34,850 to perform the aforementioned assessment. And 3, that the Township Administrator and Township Clerk be and are hereby authorized to execute all documents incidental to the implementation of this resolution.
Okay, any questions about it? Mr. Limbrick, as Chair of the Public Safety, would you like to move it?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to move that we approve the resolution just read by Mr. Desiderio awarding the contract to Hillard Hines.
Second.
Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Limbrick?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. Thank you. Is that it for you?
I have nothing else, Mayor, unless there's questions.
Okay, no. We should, elite property, we get nothing. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's come to my attention that there's an issue with the elite property, new building, and they are seeking some relief as a result of exceeding the height limitation with regard to it. So, and there have been some discussions concerning coming to an applicable resolution wherein the township would get some benefit by virtue of a contribution to be made by them in the amount of $23,000 for effectively a waiver or a deviation of the height. And I believe it's 14 inches, Mayor. Is that correct?
Correct.
So what I would ask, and I need to work through the details of how to effectively do that, consistent with the legal requirements. So what I'd like is to get a motion from you approving the concept of resolving the matter for the $23,000. And I will try to work through the issues to try to get this done appropriately.
I would move it.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just clarification on whether or not that, that $23,000 has to be designated for a specific project, or is it just at our discretion? What?
Our
or-
discretion.
My understanding, it's going to be a contribution to the township.
That's the conversation I had. It was never allocated for anything.
Okay, because we've have them doing work at D Hart at the center right now.
Right, that is correct.
So,
This would be in addition to,
yes, I understand that. So we then would later decide where that money goes, or is
Yes,
it
yes.
attached to D Hart?
It's not attached to D-Hart. We would
That would be up to
decide
you.
where that money goes.
All
Would
right.
we be able to put that in any documentation, just to be on the safe side that it's not?
I cannot hear you.
I'm sorry, would we be able to put that into any documentation that you develop, that these are two separate things and don't think that one is going to offset?
Sure,
The other.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
It's not a problem, because we've never tied one to the other in the last conversation. Call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lambrecht?
yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes,
Now I'd have nothing else.
thank you. Ms. Fritzen?
I just want to report that we've had several filmings within the township in the last couple of weeks, and they've all gone smooth. They're mostly residential in the home. We expect to have one tomorrow that's residential, and also at the stores up on Ridgewood Road.
That's it?
Are these big movies?
No, they're commercials, and several are the same. They're for Toys R Us. They really like filming here and keep coming back.
Huh.
And they've really been no problem at all.
You know, we had Beyonce come here once on
Beyonce.
Elmwood Avenue.
Meryl Streep,
Yes.
even better.
Meryl
Long
Streep
time
too,
ago.
yes, one
Yeah.
true thing, I remember that.
And Julie,
Stepmom.
what's her name? What's her name?
Roberts.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Julia Roberts.
Stepmom.
Okay,
Susan Sarandon.
anything from Ms. Fritzen? No. Okay, we're going to go to elected officials. Mr. Limbrick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two items. The first is with regard to the state aid for education, which is an issue that I've been keeping, along with several other members of the Township Committee, have been keeping very close tabs on, given the very large impact that the state aid, or more accurately, lack of state aid, has on the South Orange Maplewood School District. You may recall in prior meetings, we've actually passed a resolution supporting a bill that was put forward by our assembly members, Mila J.C. and John McKeon, last year. We've also discussed some other proposals, including from State Senate President Sweeney and from Assembly Speaker Prieto. I am pleased to report, as many people have already likely read in the media, that mid-last week, at long last, a compromise was reached between the leadership of the State Senate and the State Assembly on a budget appropriation that will be a good first step, in my view. It does not by itself even come close to solving the issue of both the inadequacy of state funding and the inequality of state education aid, but I think is a good first step. This bill, if it goes forward as it's been proposed, would give an extra $271,000 approximately to the South Orange Maplewood schools for this upcoming year, which is a substantial figure. And the hope is that in future years, either through additional tax revenues the state can bring in, or additional redistribution of state aid, which may be possible with future negotiations, that our district can do even better and that other underfunded districts around the state can do better as well. I know that especially last Wednesday and Thursday, as this compromise was reached and as the details started coming out, both Mayor DeLuca and I were in regular contact with our representatives in Trenton. I spoke by phone with Governor Cody and was also speaking regularly with Assemblywoman J.C. and Assemblyman McKeon. One of the things that's interesting is although this bill was a compromise between the two leadership proposals, at the end of the day, it actually ended up looking most like the bill that was initially proposed by Assemblywoman J.C. and Assemblyman McKeon last year in terms of the result. So while not as much aid as would have been available to us additional under that bill, we are looking, as I said, an additional $271,000. And there's a budget caucus tomorrow in Trenton. And hopefully from there, it will be ready to go to the governor's desk after a vote, which should happen this month. So that is the latest on school funding, and it was nice to see that the logjam in Trenton was able to be overcome on this really important issue for the whole state, but particularly for our communities here in Maplewood and South Orange. The second item on my report is out of the Public Safety Committee, and that is that the Public Safety Committee had an opportunity at our meeting last week to do a further review of the operational order, which is implementing the Welcoming Community Resolution. We were able to incorporate and discuss with the chief much of the feedback that we got at the last Township Committee meeting, which was very helpful. And the chief was also able to get some helpful additional information from the Essex County Prosecutor's Office to help us clarify some of the issues in the operational order. There's not need for me to say much more because we have, in consultation with the Chief of Police, the Public Safety Committee has decided that the operational order can be made public, and the plan is to do that by the end of this month. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's my report.
Thank you very much. Let me see. Let me find my list here. Mrs. Larrier.
No report, Mayor.
Ms. Adams.
No report, Mayor.
Mr. McGehee.
One thing, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to recognize a food drive that my wife, Marie McGehee, is doing this summer for Our Lady of Sorrows. She is trying to collect 1,500 items of food this summer. The collection dates are now through approximately Labor Day. The location of a drop-off is 8 Carlton Court from 6 to 9 p.m. The type of items that we are looking to collect are bagged or boxed rice, peanut butter, low sugar cereal, low sugar veggies, fresh produce on Friday, if possible, please, and other plastic brown bags with handles so we can carry this stuff, but also shelf-stable milk, can or powdered or boxed. So if you do have the opportunity to drop off an item or two, we'd appreciate that. There's about 150 families that are fed each week by Our Lady of Sorrows. They do a great job, but in the summer months when many people are vacationing, the inventory in the pantry goes down. So we'd like to keep it flush. Thank you. That's my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mrs. McGehee.
And I have 8 items that should take about 40 minutes. First, tomorrow night at 7:30, just down the street at the gazebo, the Hilton Neighborhood Association will be having their meeting there with the community band playing. It's the 22nd anniversary of the Hilton Neighborhood Association, and the community band is also going to be there. So that's 7:30, so come by. There'll be cake, music, and a good time.
Which night?
Tomorrow night.
Oh, I
21st.
thought you said Monday.
No, 21st. This Saturday from noon to 5 at Floods Hill, This is the 24th. There'll be the Community Coalition on Race's Crossroots Fest. It's ethnic dancers, music, food, merchandise, fun for the entire family. Again, that's Saturday, noon to 5 at Floods Hill in South Orange. And we made mention of the 4th of July. It will be on July 4th this year, which is the day before our next meeting, so I'll announce it here. It starts off at 8:15 with the bike parade, which will start off at Rickleton Square. At 7:30 is the 4th of July 5K run. Then 9 o'clock is the opening ceremonies in the park. 9:15 there's relays and dashes, art project. There's going to be a car show again this year, all-day food court, midway and amusements. And then the circus is going to be at 1, 3:30, and 6. There'll be two stages this year, one in the south field where the fireworks, where the main events will be. And then there'll also be a stage 2 in the north field. So there'll be a lot of stuff going on. Again, there'll be baking contests, robotics, pet show, eating contest, talent show, and pony rides, of course. So,
Sorry.
and the dunk tank, if we get, has anybody been called for a dunk tank?
No.
No, so the dunk tank will happen. Maybe there's better people to dunk than us. I
And
don't know.
our meeting is going to be.
Our meeting will be on the 5th, because
Wednesday?
Wednesday the 5th, right here, 7:30.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I will also not be at that meeting because I will be in Barbados.
Whoa,
You
Whoa.
don't sound sorry.
whoa.
Yeah, I thought that was
Barbados.
a little.
Want to bring it to everyone's attention that we have been in contact with the school board around the lead testing in the schools. Bob Rowe, our health officer, has been involved. Candace Davenport also. We've had them go to the meetings. And we are also going to be testing our own water fountains on the municipal side, just to be safe. So we'll get that information available to the public. The school district has submitted a letter of interest to the folks or the entity that owns Mary Lawn, the school and facility that closed on Scotland Road. We will be writing a letter of support. There seems to be a competitive process for purchase of that property. This is an effort by the school to purchase land that's already tax exempt and can be retrofitted to handle some of the needs that we have in the district. But we want to make sure that we don't lose it out to another district. So we'll be writing a letter of support for that. I got an invitation this evening in tonight's mail. This Eagle Scout Court of Honor is Saturday, the 24th, Columbia High School at 1:30 p.m. And there, it looks like there's five scouts that are going to be awarded the Eagle Scout honors. Again, Saturday, 1:30 at the Columbia High School. It doesn't say where exactly, but auditorium. Last two items, this Saturday, 9 a.m. at the Indiana Street lot, the Springfield Avenue Partnership will be having a cleanup of the avenue. So if you want to come out and put some gloves on and carry around a garbage bag, we'll be walking up and down, cleaning up the avenue. And lastly, at our next meeting on July 5th, Bob Boneberg, who spoke to us a while back on slave-free communities, will be here. He has provided us with a resolution that we're looking at, and we'll send it out to everyone before the meeting. And he will urge us to support that resolution on that night. And those are my 8 items, went in lightning speed.
Motion to adjourn.
Whoa.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. We'll see you on July 5th. Let's make sure I shut this off. Exit?
Yes, sir.
Should I hit shut down?
Hiring of this firm, July 5th of that?
Yes.
I didn't hear